So now I think it is the time to listen directly from the horse's mouth, his wonderful and inspiring journey. I request all of you to please welcome Dr. Bimal Roy Soni. Please, sir. Please, sir. Dr. Bimal Roy Soni is invited on the dais. Yeah, you can. Oh, if you want to. No, I'm okay. Yeah. You can speak from this. I'll request Shri Gaurav Singhvi to please come and welcome our keynote speaker. Two pioneering personalities on the stage. Stage is all yours.
First of all, I am grateful to BNI Surat to have called me here today to speak to all my colleagues and dignitaries of Surat. I'm normally not a great speaker, and whatever I had to speak, my friend has already narrated about me. But what I have to say is that when I graduated, I was always having double minds. I was a sportsman as much as was a doctor. I did go to Zambia with an attache and $500. I did not have a job, which were normally there in those days when they were given contracts. I landed up in Zambia, and believe it, I went to a Gujarati friend. Why am I in Surat today? Because all the Gujaratis of Zambia were Suratis. So when I went there, and I stayed with my friend Jagdish Patel, who was born in Zambia. A lot of Gujaratis from here went in Zambia in the 40s and 50s. So I lived at his house. Third day, I said, let's go and get a job. And I read in the newspapers, Zambian doctors on strike, led by 85% Indian doctors, recruitment of Indian doctors banned. That was Dr. Kenneth Konda, the president. I got stuck. I never realized this would happen to me after I had reached Zambia. But anyways, that was fate. And believe it, the strike lasted for 2-3 months, and there was no recruitment for 6 months. So I was virtually stuck in Zambia, but then I had another thing which helped me. What was that? Cricket. What happened? I went to a ground on Saturday to see a match which was taking place, and Kanini Sports Club is a Gujarati club of Ndola, Zambia. Zambia is Lusaka, and then Ndola, and then Kitwe, 3 big cities. So Ndola was a lot of Gujaratis from Surat again, and they had a club, and they always had a rivalry with an English oblique Sri Lankan club. Fortunately, they asked me to play for them. I played for them, and within 2-3 weeks or 4 weeks, I was good enough for them because I was a Ranji Trophy player. I made a name, I became popular, and they said, we'll get you a job. Why don't you job me here, join here? I said, I have come as a doctor. I have not come here to take up a job as a coach or a cricket coach or somebody working as manager in your place. So, of course, they took 2-3 months, but they did organize the job for me. And subsequently, my wife, who was a gynecologist, could join me. And we lived in Zambia from 1980 to 84. In this period, I came in contact with the whole Gujarati crowd, and I knew the difference between Saruche and Haruche. So the Haruche is Surti, am I right? Anyways, I enjoyed my stay, and I still have memories, although it's more than 35 years now. And from then onwards, I started my career. I came back to the country. When I came back, I had seen a lot of private healthcare facilities in Angola, Zambia, Zimbabwe, South Africa. So I thought, why not make such kind of a small setup, 50 bed, in a town like Jaipur. At that time, private healthcare was not so developed. 84 mein Pratap Reddy had made Chennai Apollo. 86 he had made Hyderabad Apollo. And private healthcare was in initial stages. The growth of private healthcare in this country happened after 1990. And by 2010, 80% of the crowd or 80% of the patients are now in private healthcare. In 1990, it was 80% government which was looking after the patients. So there has been a tremendous growth of which we are also part of it. And when I started this small nursing home in 1986, I had started it not on my own, but on the retired senior professors and doctors who had worked in our medical college. And we were an instant success. In a span of 5 years, I could develop that hospital into a 100-bed setup with 6 floors. In that period, 1990-91, I realized, I was of course 45, enthusiastic to do things. I put up the first, as you've seen in this, first CT in Rajasthan, first MRI in Rajasthan, front lithotripsy in Rajasthan, because I was close to Delhi. And we did a lot of work in Rajasthan and made a name. And that is how we grew. But at the same time, coming in contact with Pratap Reddy, who had opened Indraprasth Apollo at Delhi, I did come in contact. I became part of Indian Healthcare Federation. And I still remember at that time, Gujarat was backward, where they were all following to Bombay. But what was great was Bombay, Calcutta, Chennai, and Hyderabad, where they had CDR hospital and Apollo hospitals and all. So the South had grown much faster than North. Of course, North grew after 1990 with the coming of escorts and Trehan's Vedanta and all that. So this is the growth of private healthcare I am talking about. And I did venture by making a limited company and brought a public issue in 1995 for a very small organization of Jaipur with only at that time 9 hospitals were listed. It was something which was not done at a level of mine, which was a very small level of 5 crore equity. But we did do it, we were successful, and we went ahead. Again, the third step, why I am telling you all this is that up till this point it was okay, like in Surat it's okay. But then seeing to the other corporates, I thought of making a corporate hospital in Jaipur. So I bought a partially built 25,000 square yard land with 1.5 lakh square foot of building from government of Rajasthan. And I developed SK Soni Hospital, which I ran from 2004 to 2014. But I know how difficult it was for a corporate hospital to be run in a B-class town. It's easy to run in Delhi. It's easy to run in Bombay or Chennai, but it was very difficult to run in a smaller town. But I did run it, and of course I faltered, but I was never a bad paymaster or anything. It took toll on my health. In 2010, I had 4 stunts put, angioplasty, stress. 2012, again I had another angioplasty. So I took a call that I should not keep it because my children had just joined me. And that is the period when I sold that hospital to Manipal Group. And today it's running as a very nice Soni Manipal hospital in Jaipur. From 2014, I sold it, and I have not had any stunts since then. So I have had a relaxed, both my children have joined me, and we did create another hospital, rural hospital, which is going to be 250 beds, but it started as 100 bed. I am a pioneer which started private nursing in Rajasthan, private paramedical in Rajasthan. So we are having a nursing college, we are having paramedical college, and we have these 2 hospitals. This is one part. Then I realized in 2008, 9, 10 that government was adamant on development of rural centers and development of their own medical colleges, and they went in private-public partnerships. In that private-public partnership, the first thing they did was they gave tender for 2 CT scanners and MRIs to be installed in medical college, which fortunately we got with shareholding. It was a difficult journey. We did lose money in first 2-3 years, but we put up the best CT and MRI center in Rajasthan in SMS Medical College as Soni Hospital's MRI center. And after 3 years of hard labor, 2012 to 14-15, we were able to do more than 500, 600 CT MRs on those 4 machines. Imagine 100 MRs in a day. That is more or less, you know, in 24 hours, 5 to 6 MRs in an hour. And we did that. The maximum capacity was 110, 120, not done in India except Jaipur. And now we were doing 360 MRs a day. And I had to put up 1 MRI outside. And now we recently got a tender back from government for next 10 years for putting up 3 CTs and 3 MRs. So this is how we have gone into PPP module. It's a heavy investment, but the quantum is 900 CT MRs we are doing daily in Jaipur. Because this is SMS Medical College. And of course, we have 14, 15 radiologists working for us, and we have developed a foolproof system, and teaching of radiology in SMS Medical College has gone on higher standards because of us. We have put in the best artificial intelligence 256 slice CT worth 11 crores in SMS now. And this is only 3 machines of their kind in the country. We have also put up 3 Tesla MRIs, and we are doing a quality job. And believe it, the cost of MRI is less than $1,000, and cost of CT is also $700 to $1,400. So this is the cost at which we are doing because of quantum of cases which we are getting daily. And we are doing 30% free and giving service to the poorest of poor with the quality MRs and CTs, which they would otherwise not got in their lifetimes. So this is some of the keynotes I said. My both children, both sons, they've done MBAs and they've joined me and they've taken over the work from me. But I am very proud of what Soni Group has done and what we've been able to achieve. But I have one thing to say. I've had lots of ups and downs in purchase, whether it was Siemens, whether it was GE, or whether it was Philips. And you all in your lifetimes would be going through them. Next time, if you have any problem in buying CT at a reasonable price, you can easily contact me. Because I know how these companies have, I'm not using the wrong word, have utilized our innocence in pricing. I will not say blackmail, that's a wrong word. So we have to be careful as fellow community and help each other in getting the best viability in CT MRs and major equipments of medical healthcare. This is one part which I have said, and I wanted to also tell you that nursing, paramedical, skill development has gone in big way in Rajasthan, and we are having a skill development institute where we are training more than 150 students every year. So these are the couple of educational things we have gone into. And of course, paramedical, lab technicians, theater assistants, and other, I don't know, there's a lot of paramedical work also we are doing. And this has percolated down to other places also. So Rajasthan has taken a lead, and there's a lot of jobs in Rajasthan government also for paramedicals. Hence, what I have said is that these are some of the things which we should look into. And Surat, I don't know how much you've got in nursing colleges or paramedicals, but there's a lot of scope of people coming in and growth in private healthcare in this city. I know there are large hospitals which have come up, because in 1990, we had 6, 8 large 100-bed hospitals which came up, and subsequently the corporates came in 2004 onwards. That is the reason that when I made a corporate, I had to compete with Fortis and Narayan Hridyalaya, who had come and put up their setups in Jaipur. We also had the Santokh Dullabji, the traditional trust hospital, and we did have 1 or 2 more corporate hospitals which came in. So Jaipur became a very big medical hub, much better in rate and cost effectiveness than even Gurgaon, Delhi. So Jaipur has done well as a private base entrepreneurship and hospitals in Rajasthan, and so is the growth happening in other district towns. Government is also going ahead with a lot of PPP projects in districts of Rajasthan. I don't know what's happening in Gujarat, but it has bound to come because government cannot afford to build so many infrastructures. And we as entrepreneurs can help if we have the PPP modules also in Gujarat. So I am just suggesting such kinds of things, and this would help the people of Gujarat and will also help us establish as good institutes in the state. Any questions? I am open to it now. And whatever you would like to know, of course, when you become an entrepreneur, you have to have an equity base, how you have to balance it with finances. The financial institutions of the state give you help. The bankers, how you have to deal with them, all bankers are now giving. There was a stage in 1990 when this was not an industry and very difficult to get loans from banks. But from 1990 onwards, after the Narasimha Rao government, we had a lot of medical reforms. And I have no hesitation in saying that when we made Indian Healthcare Federation with Pratap Reddy, we did get these medical reforms, like custom duties was abolished, exemption certificates, and we had standard duties, 5%, 47%, 15%. And this was all Pratap Reddy is doing. And we had proliferation of CTs and MRs and everything coming because we didn't have to go through that custom duty exemption certificate from Government of India. Similarly, the growth happened because easy finances were available to us from the banks at reasonable rates. So all this is which has happened for growth of private healthcare in this country. And now we are at a stage where private healthcare has taken over the government healthcare because government can't afford it. The latest thing which has come, as I said now, is the PPP. Even government wants us to invest in private healthcare. For your information, Rajasthan in next 6 months is going ahead even for diagnostics in government hospitals. Can you imagine SMS Medical College with 1,500 beds giving its laboratory for PPP? Like it has given a CT scan and having 900 scans a day. So what will happen to the lab? You can imagine what private healthcare can do in the PPP projects also. And this is coming in this country because government is no longer capable of sustaining our healthcare at the budgets at which they have availability. So hence, the future of health industry in private health industry in PPP modules as well as in private is going to be very great in next 10 years. This is my prediction. And of course, large infrastructures. I did make a corporate hospital 250 bed which I could not sustain and I had to give to Manipal. These corporates and these hospitals, even in Surat, will have to come through the corporates because they have a different way of working. But people like us can 100-bed medical mini hospitals along with diagnostics and along with PPP healthcare, private-public healthcare with government can do wonders. So my advice is, this is my experience of 35 years. Please go into health education, no problem. Nursing, paramedicals, please go into PPP modules, no problem. And go to 100 bed, 150 maximum. But don't go beyond that as a corporate hospital because the costing becomes little difficult, infrastructure becomes more difficult unless you have trust hospitals. I mean, this is what I have to say, and I'm now open to whatever people would like to know. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. We would like, sir, to please take some questions, please. Can we have another mic, please? Yes, yes, coming. No problem, sir. It's okay. Thank you so much, sir, for your inspiring journey. I think most of us have many questions. So to begin with, I'll just set the ball rolling. And then I think the floor will open for selected questions from the audience. So one of the, I think, very important component of your journey was the PPP or the collaborations with government. So in that context, I would just like to know that because we all sometimes are very, very apprehensive and afraid of the collaborating with the government. So you also found some such type of experiences, or most of the time like it was a smooth experience? Should I repeat the question?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So most of the time we find that collaborating with the government has a lot of problems, and sometimes the bureaucracy, red tapeism, etc. So do you think that in your journey or otherwise, maybe the times are different, governments are different, the proactiveness is different, the business friendliness is different, but still you found such challenges, such bottlenecks in your experience also?
Initially, yes. But when you take up any PPP project, see to it that the agreement which you sign, you get it well vetted from your lawyers and your people and your chartered accountants, so that all parts are looked into. But even after that, please see to it, because the government, if it collects the money, the payment schedule is not as smooth, because the government is government. But it is definitely, if it is delayed by 1 or 2 months or 3 months, supposing you have to take 1 crore rupees every month. So what you have to see is, first, vet the project very well. Second, make arrangements from bank for overdraft facilities, because the payments can be delayed from, if it's 30 days, it could delay to 60, 90 days. But you should have a contingency, otherwise you will fail. So all this, but banks give that credit facility because they know the government money is secure. And you have the strength to fight that. So what I'm trying to say is that whenever you go into a PPP, as you have rightly asked, go ahead, because that is the time to do it. But at the same time, see that the agreement which is signed by you is not pro-government. It may be normal, but not pro-government. And also the payment schedule is well headed too, and you will never fail. At least up till now, yes. I've been in PPP project for 10 years. I have had this clearance from government of Rajasthan.
Thank you. Thank you. One of the common questions which I think all of us might be thinking, people say that the time or the years of the small nursing homes are numbered. I mean, the things are changing, the way the corporatization is happening and everything. So do you still think that small nursing homes, 5 bed, 10 bed, 15 bed, 20 bed, has a future?
I'm absolutely clear. If they are nursing homes which are run by husband-wife combinations, if it's your, I call them maternity homes for gynae, or small nursing homes, they will always run, because they will depend on your clientele. But if you feel that you can have an ICU, you can have other doctors coming and operating, which we were doing till today, multi-speciality nursing homes, initiating as a maternity home but converting into multiple nursing homes. Those days are numbered, because now you will have mini hospitals, about 100 beds in towns like Surat and others, which will run. That will be multi-speciality. That will be run on a different platform, different rates. And also don't forget, 80%, 75% of our business now is credit. Whether it's insurance, whether it is Chiranjeevi, whether it is Bhamasha. So once you get stuck, you will not get your payments in one immediate go. It will take about 60 to 90 days. Hence, whatever you do, 100-bed setups, you have to have the financial strength to strengthen your credit for 90 to 120 days, as I have rightly said. But we'll have to go with the tide. Cash payment वाले ही नहीं है. गाँव से भी लोग बाग आते हैं, तो they've got all the insurance पे. So the private healthcare is converting into insurance-oriented business. So we have to bear into that, and you have to see your own pocket of how to run it. Yes, I again repeat, individual-owned nursing homes will always survive, 10, 15 bed, whether it is maternity home or a general surgical home or a urology center. It is dependent on the doctor himself. But don't bank on other doctors coming and giving you the necessary revenue. That is a bonus if it happens.
Right. We'll take some questions from the audience. Yes, Dr. Gemawat.
Thank you, sir. My question is, recently government of Rajasthan has introduced the medical college at district level. So how private entrepreneur can enter into that, whether government has any option given to the private sector, they can run the medical college at district level. How do you see that?
Government has come with a scheme to open medical colleges at district level, but they are also open to open these colleges in private-public partnership. So there are certain norms, as I rightly said, 100% in district towns, crowd will go to the or to government hospitals which will be attached to this medical college. But you have to see what are the norms and what rules they are making, because government is making rules different for different districts. Certain districts are backward districts and certain districts are, active districts. Also, when you take up this PPP project, you also have to analyze whether there's already a medical college there, whether there's already an active private healthcare center running there, because some of the districts have got good old trust hospitals running, which are doing well. So it has to be, you can't compete and think that medical college will be a success in that area. So this is district to district, how you take your decisions and how you make it. Sir, and don't forget that government is also a little biased when it comes to local leaders and local political gimmicks, whether it is Congress or BJP, I am not commenting, but you have to take into loop everything before you take a decision for these medical colleges.
Sir, before I ask the next question, I would like to ask you, you are the first generation entrepreneur?
I am very much a first generation entrepreneur.
Correct.
And I am very much, I started my innings in 1986 when I came back from Zambia and I had 10 lakh of rupees. And I took loans of 25, 30 lakhs and started my business.
Correct.
So I am from scratch, first generation made entrepreneur.
So as a first generation entrepreneur, since we cannot say that entrepreneurship was in your blood, technically speaking, so what, during your whole journey, what trouble spots or what specific problems on a personal front you found? For example, like you found that risk taking sometimes as a first generation entrepreneur might be difficult, and many more such examples. So I would like you to throw some light on those points.
You have very rightly caught it. I have taken a lot of risks in life. Fortunately, God has been kind to me. They have been successful, but there have been also failures. And I could take these risks because I was an opening batsman and wicket keeper. And I was very popular in the 70s. I was like Virendra Sehwag, a big hitter. So when I came back, I played for East Africa. I played a lot of cricket there. But when I came back in 1986, I took this challenge of opening a hospital also as a big risk. I never had the background of a industrialist or a business father. I took the risk. I became successful initially. 30-bed hospital I started, it became full in 3 months. So I went on, and to the extent that I went on taking risks, putting up a CT scan in 92 and an MRI in 93 was no joke in Jaipur. But I did take it, and in MRI I did fail. It didn't do well. It took 4 years to pick up. So 93 to 97, I went into a financial crunch. But I did do a public issue. I brought in money. And till 2001, I could not do any expansion, but consolidate myself. Because in that period, 4 or 5 MRs came in Jaipur. CT scan, about 15 CT scan centers came in. So the competition comes in once you make it. But God has been kind that I was able to generate, and I was able to maintain my branding from 86 to 2001 and overcome all these things. But it did block me for 5 years because I did premature and, not thinking from the brain but from the heart when I did these investments. But this happens when you are on a journey of growth. And it did stop me for some time. And then I went for the large hospital, 250 bed, in 2004. Then again it took me 10 years to balance it before I sold it to Manipal, as I said. So, but there are so many things in life which do happen. But fortunately, my children also joined me after 2010-11, and we have done well after that. And we have created a rural hospital after selling off the other hospitals. So we have 2 hospitals, and we did go, as I said, for PPP in CTMRs and other things. And now we have also gone for PPP in 10 district towns where we have put in the dialysis centers with Government of Rajasthan. So we are in all districts of Rajasthan with dialysis centers in government hospitals. And now government is converting itself into further. They may be opening CT MRI centers in the district towns. They'll be opening cath labs in district towns, and all these would be PPPs. So we have a lot of opportunity, but we have to weigh and balance and see that this happens. I'm again repeating, except for the largest cities, the growth of private healthcare is in PPP in the districts.
Yes, sir, please. Dr. Praful Doshi. Dr. Praful Doshi,
I'm Dr. Praful Doshi. I'm a gynecologist here in Surat. We saw two views here. People like Pranav Desai, who joined with Metropolis, and Rajiv Mehta, who started Seeds. They said their pressure, their stress has decreased. And we have you, who said, in spite of being a sportsman, you had a 4-vessel block and multiple stents. And we know the well-known story of Neetu Mandke, who being a cardiac surgeon, if you read the biography written by his own wife, that he was under tremendous stress. The present Kokilaben Ambani Hospital was actually built by Neetu Mandke, and he couldn't take that stress, and he died. So we have people going corporate and becoming stress-free, and people actually getting stress and dying also. So getting like-minded people, as he rightly said. But then we have in Surat, there are projects, even after starting and keeping up, picking up, they have stopped. We have projects which did not take off. The like-mindedness is something which you feel initially, and then it doesn't come around. Don't you think it is all about little chance or random luck?
Can I answer your question one?
Yes.
The more intelligent we become, what I'm talking of is educated, the more we become difficult to cooperate.
Exactly.
4 doctors.
That is why the group practice is relatively new, and it's not coming up.
I have gone through all this. 4 doctors, 5 doctors, they combine and make a nursing home. And after 3 years, if it fails, they fight. If it is successful, they fight. This is a fact of life. I am not blaming anybody, please. I had a doctor friend of mine who was a great oncologist, who was 10 years junior to me, who was working with me in my corporate hospital. He made an oncology team. He took the radiotherapist, he took surgeon himself, and they put up 2 linear accelerators. They wanted some guarantees and working, so they involved me into it. He died in 5 years because there was a lot of pressure on him, and his bosom friends, money made them deviate from different levels, and ultimately I had to buy off that and save the business. But what I'm saying is not that, as he rightly said, they merged with Metropolis, they merged with that. That is because those people had got the strength by success. So again I am repeating, if you are able to run 10, 15 bedded nursing homes on husband-wife combination, please go ahead. But don't go ahead where you are banking on surgeon for the one floor or ICU intensivist on the other floor, because you are bound to land up in problems. This is out of experience I am saying. Please, there's nothing personal. What I mean is go to a level. But after that, if you have the base and equity, supposing you are doing so well in private business that you can afford 20 crores and you can repay on your own as a neurologist, go ahead. Develop a large hospital, hand over the ICU block to somebody, hand over the surgical block to somebody, and run it in your name. But provided you have the strength that even if they run away, you have the strength to repay your bankers and all that. So this is something which is at personal level. I am giving you this because I have gone through all this. So this is it. I am not rejecting growth, but what I am saying is have a calculated growth and calculated risk. That is the success story of young entrepreneurs.
Thank you. You answered it very well. Thank you very much.
You answered so well. Just last 2 questions which have come from the audience. I think we have two questions coming from the audience. One is, do you think running a successful hospital venture most of the time, ethically is difficult. Ethically can have a variety of definitions, but ethically is difficult. That's what my question. Without going into any,
I have one thing to say.
Yes.
That when I started, Jaipur had 13 maternity homes. 90 to 97, Jaipur went into 350 nursing homes. That is the mushrooming and growth. But out of those 350, 150 didn't even work out. So what I am saying is that if you do an ethical business, if you do a limited and straightforward business, the difficulty may be there in first 3-4 years, but the growth and your life is long. But if you do unethical business, it will give you fast money, but not more than 5 years. I have seen hospitals who have given 25, 30% commissions, as we call them. And they have done very well in first 3 years or 5 years, but then have faltered. Goodwill as well as branding has faltered for them. So I would suggest, what I have done is have a little slower growth, but have a solid growth, and whatever word you give to a doctor, consultant or anybody, and whatever word you take from him, please stick to it. Don't change. Change leads to failures and fight. I mean, this is my experience. And I have one more personal thing I can share. I have never done an agreement with any consultant. My word of mouth is final law, and I have never deviated. Hence, I have had no failure of consultant leaving me in last 35 years.
Wonderful, wonderful. And sir, one last question. We as a to do. One is ethics, you just said, but what is the advice for like these things should
As
be
I have
avoided?
mentioned a couple of things. First, don't deviate from your ethics. Any surgeon, any consultant of yours who's doing illegal business, stop him. Or give him time to stop, because it takes time, 1 or 2 months to stop. But everything will come on you first. Second, as I rightly said, you could be absolutely clear that if you have got 10 branches running, I'm talking of radiology, pathology, not all will do well, but you have to keep a balance. Now, if you have certain partnerships in those balance, I'll give you an example. If we put a cath lab with a cardiologist, the cardiologist does not understand business, but he understands his cardiology. And he should do ethical business. That is your job. At the same time, you should explain him that 3 years are difficult, but 4th year is good. This is our break-even point. Then the cardiologist will say, मैं तो दूसरे cardiologist को नहीं आने दूंगा. और आप देख रहे हो, for the success of your cath lab, you need 3 cardiologists working, not 1. I'm just giving you an example. So obviously, you want 3 of them to come and work and give you revenue. But the one who is your owner says, मैं तो नहीं allow करूंगा, because it affects his growth. That's wrong. So these are some of the stalemates which come, which have to be thrashed out by the middlemen or you amongst your, or at times, you may even have to buy off your cardiologist to see that the working happens. I'm giving you examples, nothing against anybody. But, and this thing happens in laboratory, this thing happens in CT MRI partnerships, and many things that happen. But when you do something, you should, when you do a partnership on a limited level, you should see that ideas meet, thinking meet, and pros and cons are well discussed before you go ahead with a project.
Excellent, sir. One last question I think you have. This is the last question.
Hello, sir. Good noon. Myself, Dr. Vishal Sir. I am a homeopathic and ozone therapy specialist. PP for homeopathic.
Pardon?
PP for homeopathic.
No, what is your question?
PPF.
What is your question?
PPF for PPP for homeopathic.
I think he wants to ask you that, like, is there any scope for public-private partnership in homeopathy branch?
No, you see, it depends. In homeopathic, you are doing certain treatment, right? You can't run allopathic and homeopathic together. But diagnostics do come part of homeopathic treatments also. So I would only say a homeopathic doctor can also come in partnerships with a large hospital if he opens a homeopathic branch in that hospital. Or in diagnostics if he is ready to invest. But you can't intermingle homeopathy with allopathy.
Excellent,
Definitely
excellent,
not.
sir. So I think this was a wonderful session. And we need, I want all of you to give a standing ovation to such a stalwart of the industry. And we learned so many things from his vast pool of experience, and I think we have a long way to go as doctors in our entrepreneurial journey. And with such inspiring experiences, I'll invite the Executive Director of BNI, Shri Gaurav Singhvi, to please come on the stage for memento.
I would also like to invite our title sponsor, Mr. Nishant Sanghvi, and our associate sponsor, Mr. Sagar Vakharia, to join Gaurav sir for picture together. Sir, please. Wow, this has been such an enlightening session for all of us. Are you all with us?